Hello, welcome back to Moveeno. Today, I'm going to recap the 2006 movie titled The Ant Bully. Sit back and enjoy. It was a regular night inside the ant colony. While all the ants are resting, Zoc goes up there looking for the last ingredient he needed to finish his potion. After searching for days, Zoc discovers the fire crystals in the rock. He asks Spindle to light the area as he extracts the mineral from the rock. In the process, other ants who were sleeping below got hit by the falling rocks and ordered Zoc to take a rest. But Zoc ignored them and continued extracting the minerals. After a short while, he manages to extract all the crystals he needed. The following morning, while all the workers go back to work, they got attacked by the destroyer. In the backyard of the Nickel family home is the anthill, where Lucas resides with his parents and sister, Tiffany. Lucas has not friends and because of that is teased by his colleagues in the neighborhood, especially Steve, the oldest among his peers. Because of his strength and body size, he constantly intimidated the other boys in the neighborhood. To avoid his anger, Nicky and the other boys back him even though he targets them as well. After bullying Lucas, Steve leaves with his guys. To take out his anger, Lucas takes out his water pistol and attacks the anthill. This is not new. Lucas would always attack the anthill whenever he is humiliated as a way to let go of his anger. As a result of his numerous attacks, he became known to the entire colony as the Destroyer. Zoc threatens to use his powers against him as a way of defense, but Lucas kicks the anthill in the air. Hova tries to get his attention in a way of stopping the attack, but Lucas nearly crashed her as Zoc quickly saved her. Just when he nearly eliminates the couple, his mother calls him back home. His mom, Doreen, informs her that she is going on a romantic vacation with her husband, Fred, to celebrate their wedding anniversary. She said goodbye to Lucas, but Lucas was upset and asked her to leave quickly after Doreen tried to ask what's bothering him. The couple leaves Lucas and her sister in the care of their grandma Mama. From the second floor of the house, Grandma drops her dentures in the garden. Lucas went up to Grandma to return her dentures and discovers that she's been really busy setting up her room. When Lucas asked her about the reason for keeping busy, she replied saying that she is preparing for an alien invasion. In the next scene, we see Zoc working on his potion. However, something is preventing his magic from working. He rubs the fire crystals, but the liquid does not change color. As Lucas waters the grass the next morning, Steve throws a firecracker at him. Just before he left, he launched another one, but it ended up going out before exploding. As usual, Lucas gets furious and looks at the anthill for his next attack. As Zoc continues to work on his potion, he discovers that the fire crystals are not working as expected due to coating on the surface. To clean up the coating, he decides to use resin and gave it another try, and this time it worked. The potion is finally ready. While celebrating, a strong current of water invades the anthill and drags everyone wherever it goes, destroying the whole place. Suddenly, Lucas is interrupted by a guy who approaches him claiming to be a pest exterminator. He told Lucas that his dad hired him but forgot to sign the contract before traveling. He then convinced Lucas to sign the document on behalf of his father. After the flood, Zoc and Hova emerged from the water and then finds out that Spindle managed to save the potion. They rescued the head of the council who was buried under the rocks. The ants were worried about the current state of the colony. Because the ants had done nothing wrong against Lucas, they were worried about all his frequent attacks. At that moment, Zoc announced that he has now finished his potion. Later that night, he met with the other ants to execute his plans. At the house, we see a small group running across the room and heading towards Lucas. After they had arrived, Zoc poured the liquid into his ear and the potion soon takes effect. After he woke up, he realized that everything around him is gigantic and he noticed that he has shrunk. He falls out of bed and lands inside a bag of chips. After he got out, Zoc was already waiting for him. Due to the strange noise, Grandma wakes up scared and goes to Lucas's room to check on him. She looked through her binoculars and saw Lucas being taken away by ants and immediately passed out. When they got him outside the house, the ants threw him inside the colony and transported him to the place where they will have his trial. All the ants gathered to watch the event and were surprised to see a human so closely. He is then dragged to the council by the guards and Fugax reads the charges. They then announce the arrival of the queen, who must give the sentence. The queen then decided not to kill the boy in order to ensure the survival of the colony. Instead, they will force Lucas to live with them in the colony until he learns what it's like to be an ant. That way they could build a better future for all ant. Hova volunteered to teach Lucas their ways, and the next morning they began training. However, Lucas tried to hide from her as he planned an escape. He then tries to build an outfit from the materials he found around the colony. Soon, he realizes that there is no point in running away because Hova told him that he will only return to his normal size after learning to become an ant. Therefore, she decided to help him to find his place in the colony. Hova tries to fit him into the collection as the instructor is a great friend. Preela sends the boy to the blue team along with other male ants in the colony. For their initial test, Each team must work together to avoid obstacles, retrieve the jelly bean, which they call the sweet stone, and return to the nest. The first team to return will be the winner. But for that, no member could be left behind. Creela signals them to take off, and the first challenge they have to face is crossing a crack in the ground. The blue team ants join together to form a bridge, but Lucas decides to cross alone and ends up falling inside the crack and needs to be rescued by his colleagues. Now to cross a puddle of water, they need to team up again. But Lucas ends up getting accidentally thrown straight into the sweet rock. The other ants on his team decide to use the same strategy to cross and quickly reach their goal. Now, the challenge is to return to the colony before the red team. And next, they need to climb a rock. But Lucas can't climb like an ant. His teammates try to help him, but the red team manages to reach the finish line first and wins the contest. At the end of the game, Hova praised Lucas for his performance, but Lucas says he doesn't do well with teamwork. As they talk, Hova senses something is approaching and pulls the boy to safety. Soon after, several wasps approach the colony and rob the group. To fight back, the ants unite to attack them and throw stones at their enemies. One of the wasps attacks Creela, but Zoc quickly shoots a bolt of lightning at the insect's head and runs to help Hova, who is being attacked, while protecting Luca. Lucas gets scared and decides to run. Zoc arrives to help, but the wasp catches Hova and flies her away. One of the wasps goes after Lucas, but to defend himself, he uses a firecracker that was lying on his lawn to get rid of the insect. He directed the sun's heat through a piece of glass to the rope and manages to light the firecracker. In an attempt to eliminate the boy, the wasp accidentally attaches its stinger to the firecracker. Lucas runs away quickly before the explosion. The frightened wasp carrying Hova decides to release her and fled along with the swam. Seeing their enemies retreating, the ants praised the destroyer and thanked him for saving the colony. However, Zoc isn't happy by this situation, as he knows that Lucas was actually just trying to save himself. Later that night, in celebration of their victory, the entire colony is partying and Fugex brings nectar for dinner. Lucas decides to try it and finds it delicious. He eats all of those and Fugex goes to get another portion. At that moment, Lucas discovers that it's nothing more than maggot droppings and gets sick to his stomach. To help him feel better, Hova gives him a piece of root and a drop of water. After drinking that medicine, Lucas began feeling better and belched loudly and echo throughout the colony. After dinner, Hova, Fugex, and Creela decide to take their guests to meet the Queen Mother, the one who gave birth to all queens and all colonies. On the way there, Lucas sees some drawings on the wall, which tell the history of the colony. Finally, they see the image of the mother ant. They believe that one day she will return and fresh nectar will fall from the sky like rain. Also in that place, there is the drawing of the cloud breather. That drawing is very old and no ant in the colony really knows what it means. What everyone knows is that death follows him. After seeing that image, Lucas remembers that he signed a contract with the Terminator and runs to his house to try to dismiss him. Creela tries to stop him, but he promises that if they help him, they can get as many sweet stones as they want. As they walk through the door, they soon come across a shag rug that could slow them down. So Lucas comes up with the idea of using the rose petals as a parachute. After climbing on the sideboard, each of them picked up a petal and waited for Lucas' command to jump all together. After jumping, they're pushed by the fan and manage to cross the room. However, Fugex is left behind and ends up falling between the propeller. Luckily, he came out alive and the group makes it to the kitchen. There, they find the jelly beans and Lucas runs to the phone while Fugex and Creela get the candy. Lucas dials the number of Stan the Terminator, but got the last number wrong. The call ends up at the Pizza Kingdom and an employee answers it. Lucas thinks he's talking to Stan and asked him to cancel the contract. At the end of the call, he feels relieved. The phone rings and Tiffany appears to answer. When it hangs up, she sees Fugex picking up a jelly bean and attacks him. She tried to eliminate that disgusting insect and Grandma Mamo appears to stop her, knowing that her grandson has shrunk to the size on an ant. The old lady is afraid that the girl will crush him. It's dark when the ants return to the anthill and Zoc is extremely happy to see Hova. The wizard was worried about his girlfriend who had disappeared without explanation. When he finds out that they were in the human's nest, Zoc is furious because that place is forbidden because it is too dangerous. To prevent Lucas from putting Hova in danger again, he threatens him. He told Lucas he will never give him the potion that will make him grow again because he is a threat. Lucas got frightened and left and Zoc entered the colony. Hova goes to see Zoc and asks where Lucas is and tells him he's gone. Hova gets furious and feels disappointed in Zoc, then goes after Lucas. Fugex and Creela accompanied her. They know the boy will not be able to survive the night by himself. Meanwhile, as Lucas sat at the edge of the lake, he regrets the fact that he will never be able to return home again. Suddenly, he meets a beetle that quickly disappears while he washes his face. Lucas begins to search for the insect and discovers that there is a frog hiding in that lake. The animal tries to eat him and uses its tongue to try to pull him into its mouth. As he runs away, His friends find him and everyone has to run from the frog. The ants manage to save themselves by climbing into a soda can. However, poor Lucas cannot do the same. He climbs a few inches, but soon slips and is swallowed by the frog. Zoc shows up just in time and sees Hova mourning the loss of Lucas. He feels guilty about the situation and decides to help. The beetle that Lucas met earlier is inside the frog's stomach, along with a firefly and a mosquito. Then Lucas appears, and after seeing a dead insect in the midst of that disgusting situation, they quickly wanted to get out. Meanwhile, Zoc tries to get the frog's attention with the intention of being swallowed. He's seen holding a root in his hands and plans to use it to save Lucas. The frog devours him and he dips that root into the animal's stomach and the acid begins to bubble. Seconds later, the frog burps in Lucas and the bugs are expelled. The grumpy mosquito celebrates its freedom but gets eaten by another frog. Zoc and Lucas meet up with the other ants and Hova forgives her boyfriend, Zoc. Since they are far from the colony, they decide to camp. In the morning, Fugex wakes up first and sees the mother ant approaching the colony. He starts screaming with joy and his friends wake up right away. Lucas discovers that in fact, who is approaching is Stan, the exterminator. That was when he realizes that his plan to cancel the contract failed. Zoc soon recognizes the guy in the cap as the cloud breather. Meanwhile, all the members of the colony are excited at the arrival of the mother ant. But Zoc shows up to tell them the truth. Lucas reveals that the man is going to use poisons and sprays to end the colony. When asked why he knew all this, he said that he was the one who hired the exterminator. Upon hearing this, the head of the council ordered the guards to get rid of Lucas. But Lucas had an idea. He then suggests that Zoc use the potion to shrink Stan the same way he was shrank. They then go to the wasp's nest for help as their lives were also at risk. The wasps decided to help the ants get rid of the exterminator. With the ants mounted on wasps, they fly to the man's head, but find that his ears are protected by earphones. To his advantage, Stan easily gets rid of all the insects that attacked him. As he recharges, he takes off his earphones and Lucas tries to get closer to attack him. However, the wasp Lucas was riding is knocked over and he lands on the man's head. Lucas finds dozens of lice living in a large amount of dandruff. At that moment, Stan scratches his scalp and Lucas quickly jumps on his face as he escapes. He ends up falling onto Stan's nose, but eventually falls down when Stan blows his nose. Luckily, Hova is nearby and manages to give Lucas a ride. When things seem to go well, they are attacked and fall to the ground. The wasp lands on top of Hova and both are unable to move. As the smoke approaches, Lucas decides to run away, but remembers that ants work as a team and refuses to leave his group behind. He lifts the wasp up and frees Hova so they can escape. They come across the mailbox and Hova climbs up. Lucas then follows behind and has apparently been engulfed by the smoke. Surprisingly, he manages to climb up and saved himself and the wasp. After riding with Zoc, they devise a new plan. Instead of pouring the potion into Stan's ear, they decide to smear the liquid on the wasp's stinger, which then stings the exterminator's backsides. Seconds later, the man begins to shrink. Luckily, he wasn't the size on an ant, but he's the stature of a child. Not that they are defeating the enemy. The wasps that survived band together to attack him. Stan is too short to get into his van, so he steals a tricycle to make his escape. At the end of the attack, the ants return to the colony and praise Lucas as their savior. The queen then appears to give him his freedom. Before leaving, Lucas says goodbye to his friends and Zoc gives him the growth potion. Lucas says goodbye Hova and goes outside. After drinking the potion, he returns to normal. His grandmother was watching through the binoculars and is extremely happy to see that Lucas is back. A few hours later, the parents returned from their trip and Lucas runs to hug his mother. When his parents went inside, Steve and his gang show up to pick on Lucas. This time, Lucas is not intimidated and decides to face him. Steve gets angry with Nikki and threatens to beat him up. Finally, Lucas finds an opportunity to unite with the weaker boys to fight Steve. The boys are also excited and run after Steve. He runs away like a coward. In the end, as they are now on their own, they invite Lucas to play. But before going, he throws several jelly beans around the anthill. Please like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.